as a technologist, I'm always curious about what your vision for the future is.
I think it's going to look. I've been very fortunate. I've been participating in a couple of the major patterns in technology, microprocessors and microcomputers, graphical interfaces and computers becoming easier, the internet, mobile computing. Um, I think we're really on a cusp of another one, which is AI. And, it's got all the hype and the way over promises and under delivers and then at the same time, the really scary things. And, I remember when people used to be scared of word processors because, oh, the computer's writing your paper for you. You can't use a word processor. I actually had to deal with that in school. And I think AI is going to go through some of that, but it's going to go through it at a pace we've never seen. Whereas all the transitions I've been part of and I talked about, took decades or many, many years. I think AI is going to do it in probably a third of the time or half of the time. And it's going to be a wild, very interesting ride as we go through this. And in 5 years, 10 years, we're going to be in I think I'm going to be always kind of an optimist. We're going to be in a very good place where there's going to be a lot of, as a society, problems we solved and things we can do that we just couldn't do before. And, I'm hopeful that, as a planet, we'll be better for it.
So if you had to bet your money on a specific kind of AI, what would it be?
Oh. So the generational stuff is obviously the most interesting. Because that's where I think we're going to get to AGI, or we're going to get closest to AGI first. And, I don't think we have AGI yet. I don't think any one of the models or approaches we have today, from everything I've learned and can learn, is at AGI. But I do think the generationals, large language, image gen, video gen, audio gen, stuff that, makes something based on training and make something based on training and experience and has emergent behavior are going to be the ones that are going to get us there. And it's going to be some kind of fusion model. So I think OpenAI has the best generational stuff going. And I think Google might have this, depending on how you look at it, Google might have some of the best fusion stuff. And so it's going to be interesting to see those two and any other dark horses to get into the race kind of come together. But when we get to AGI, that's when it gets interesting.
And how are you using AI in your everyday life, whether it's personal or for professional?
I use it a couple ways. I use it as a coding assistant. It's great just to generate out boilerplate code and stuff that, you could write, but it just takes time. And why? Let it do it. I also use it for writing refinement. So, hey, do a tone analysis. Does this land this way? Am I saying this in a way that, otherwise? And usually it's suggestions. I never use its output directly, but I always listen to its suggestions like I would a trusted editor, kind of sitting on my shoulder. I use it that way. And then for information space exploring, I think the stuff that OpenAI has done with the latest version of GPT is pretty interesting. I think when the assistants catch up and start fusing in some of that, that's when it's going to get really interesting for information and subject exploration and learning in general. The last thing I'll say in AI is I worry a lot about education. I worry a lot about education and AI. Education has always struggled with technology and struggled with technology adoption and responding to trends that happen, whether they want them to or not. And I think AI has amazing potential to be beneficial for education as an augment to teachers and as a way of helping them scale and be better and learn more. But it's going to require fundamentally changing a bunch of things that systemically we have changed in 100 years. And I worry a lot.
Yeah, of course. And it's going back to culture, right? You don't really ever have educational systems where there's a culture of innovation and efficiency in like how they're teaching new information to students.
I do. I think you had some of that in fringes or in isolated pockets. It's systemically that's very difficult,
Yeah.
at least historically speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. The longer I live in my adult life, I'm like, man, like what the hell did they teach us in school? Like they certainly didn't teach us how to do taxes. They certainly didn't teach us about, interpersonal connection and, the really important like adult things that I'm now learning in my 30s. And I'm like, man, like I don't get it. I like sometimes I feel like a kid and they should have
Yeah.
taught these at school.
Yeah. I mean, look, we can get into hours in education. I would love an education system that is fosters a sense of curiosity and lifelong learning and focuses on giving you the skills to achieve that, as opposed to something that is highly regimented and highly, structured. And I'm not faulting it. There are real valid reasons why it's like this. I do not wish to oversimplify. If they only did this, it's not like that at all. But I do think that I really hope that AI and the wave of technology continue along. It's not even AI based. Can do some pretty fundamental good there. I think it can. I believe it can. I hope not. Just because there's such a human. I mean, look, we're not going to interact with AI as at the level of community and human that we get. At least not in my lifetime. And so, I don't think AI should replace that, but I do think it has an augmentation capacity. It has the ability to be that backstop. What I've really benefited tremendously from it is that, hey, there is thing going on. There's some new scientific thing, or there's some new medical thing, or there's some new thing that in an area I have no doubt, just absolutely no doubt. And I have found it to be a really powerful tool to go gain context and depth and learn about that topic much faster than I've ever been able to do prior to its existence. But I do so with the grain of salt that, it is wrong. It does hallucinate. It does make things up. So it's not canon, but it can usually point me in really interesting directions. And then when I find a really interesting direction, I go Google it and I go look at something that I know isn't subject to hallucination. Well, beyond the human level, isn't subject to hallucination. Hopefully, if somebody young listens to this, they can stop focusing on the paycheck or the next rung or the whatever and focus on hey, go love what I'm doing today. The rest of it really all will work out. Won't be easy, but it'll work out. Yeah. Anybody, I believe in some tech, right? Anybody who tells you this is what technology is going to be in 2 years is lying to you, either honestly or dishonestly, right? They're lying because they really believe it. That's fine. Or even dishonestly because they're just making it up because it serves some internal benefit. It's moving too fast. We just don't know.